kills you get during that time don't count towards Archimist because the ability hasn't gone on cooldown yet. So just things to think about. Weibo, though, with this blue side, they're going to be ones to ban the Rumble, even with OMG having it, meaning that they're not comfortable, at least in this first game. Reminder for everybody, a full best of 5 is the series that we're going to be having through this entire split 1 of LPL.
I wonder if that means by banning Rumble on the blue side, you don't even want to take the chance of fighting for the Rumble on blue side. Yeah. You rather wait for other priority picks like the AShe, like the Varus, to be used once in this best of 5, and then later down the road when Rumble becomes one of the few, if not only priority pick you desperately want and you're on blue side, then you can force the opposition to try and ban. And if they don't, then free Rumble for you, and you don't lose that much in on the switch up towards the other side.
Yeah. Rumble's also just a champion that we do expect for a lot of top laners to be able to pick up, but it is a champion that isn't necessarily the most popular for someone like Breathe, at least in his career. Only has about 12 games on it. 3 and 9 is his total score. So yeah, interesting. And like you were saying, there are other priorities. AShe, a champion. AShe and Varus are 2 champions that did get nerfed on this patch, at least a little bit. They got tuned. So I'm interested to see what exactly we get from them. Going for the Aurora, another mid lane champion that we did get to see from Xiaohu earlier on in Demacia Cup. But this AShe BRaum, very, very potent. And for OMG, I won't lie, getting an Orianna BRaum doesn't feel too bad, or an Orianna Nocturne doesn't feel too bad on the back end.
Yeah. I mean, you have guaranteed engage now set up, paranoia into the shockwave combo. At this point, so many teams have been able to get the execution down that it's kind of expected, no longer a novelty. Obviously, it's still super cool when we see it pulled off, but now, you know, it's no longer like, whoa, like no other team has been able to do that. But as we move into the second round of picks and bans, you look at the other side, Weibo Gaming have not locked into their jungler, obviously. So they're going to take off some aggressive options. And because we've already alluded to this new season being a lot more snowbally, favoring a lot more, you know, the more experience that you're able to pick up with these Blood Roses, fighter junglers are going to rise in prominence. I don't think we're going to be seeing a lot of tank junglers if it's not something like the Skarner, which is, you know, still such a powerhouse on its own. So that's why you see the Xin Zhao band, the Wukong band as well.
Okay. For OMG, I think it's only right to be going for a support counter here. Now, Leona's not great, and with Rel gone as well, that was one of the biggest champions that Moham kind of made his name on. One of the criticisms that I actually had for OMG was the fact that Moham, in their series during Demacia Cup, was someone that was always looking for engages. I think was sometimes in a position where the rest of his team really couldn't follow up and ended up either falling or having to use his abilities before a really big fight. So I wanted to see what him and Starry could do as the game is able to develop and with a little bit more time. But going for the Varus Neeko, we're going for double range bottom lane here. And the Orianna Aurora matchup, to my knowledge, they have very similar ranges versus each other, but Orianna is just able to eke her out just very narrowly with her command move, and it is up to Aurora to kind of get around that and be able to deal damage. So if she can get underneath her, Aurora can be very dangerous here. Are we potentially getting Tian's most played champion all time?
No, I'm getting baited. On the clock. I mean, maybe, but going with Viego, you already have some decent amount of burst to set up that. Don't tease me, Moham. Stop that.
No, I already got baited by hovers. I already got baited. I did it for us. We don't have to do it.
Yeah, I know. With Viego on the table, Weibo Gaming playing through jungle mid this game, relying on Xiaohu and Tian to get a majority of these kills and resets going for themselves, with Breathe having to blind pick this Ksante. Hery's just going to go for the Gnar, counterpick, try to play that range matchup. However, we know that anytime that this Gnar does get jumped on early on in the laning phase and falls behind to something like this, you know, Ksante super tank, it does get a lot more difficult to try and keep the Ksante down. So curious to see where Tian really wants to focus his efforts in this game.
And with Otacon, the way that it spawns is based on local champion damage, whether it's on the bottom side or on the top side. So champion damage as well as kills. So this might be one where it could spawn on either side of the map. You do have the Gnar that's going to constantly be able to attack the Ksante in lane. You have a double range bottom lane as part of this lane. For OMG, I like what they've got themselves set up with. You have priority coming in from both of the side lanes here. You have an Orianna that can link up with the Nocturne here. But what I'm looking for from Weibo is that ability to actually start fights. They're a relatively low-range composition. You have the Viego alongside this Aurora. The Aurora ultimate no longer kind of stuns people if you were able to hit the wall. So we're really looking at what Light is able to pull off. And if they can get summoner spells before a fight, that is going to be kind of their ticket to be able to find fights. Otherwise, I'm worried that this team might not have enough damage or enough firepower to really fire back against an OMG squad.
You are kind of relying on getting to an objective first then, if you are in Weibo Gaming's case, and hoping that OMG is going to walk into your effective range and then allow you to start getting those resets going. Because when you look on the other side, you've got Paranoia, and that can easily cloak things like a Gnar trying to flank, Chain of Corruption's flying towards you, Neeko. That is the most I am terrified about if I am in the seats of Weibo Gaming, having to deal with a Pop Blossom that, you know, can be somewhat predictable in normal, you know, vision, but when the lights are all turned out, it doesn't matter if Neeko is not disguised as a clone or not. You don't get to hear any of the sound cues. You don't get to see anything that's going on, and suddenly, you know, 4 or 5 man Pop Blossom is right on top of your head.
Oh, and we get the cinematic camera coming out from the LPL. It's the very first game of 2025, one of the first competitive games we're going to be having on this new season and new patch as well. So exciting stuff here for fans alike, for just LoL esports as a whole. Heng already getting a bit cheeky with it, trying to find some early wards here. If he gets spotted, he could be in a very dangerous position. And for everybody at home that was wondering, did they get rid of lane swaps? No. No, they did not. If anything, they incentivized them with stuff like Atakan early.
Now, quick, they didn't see Heng. Now, we didn't see what happened, but here's the replay showing Moham was caught in the jungle as the rest of Weibo Gaming went for an invade, and as soon as they slowed Moham, he knew he had the burn flash, otherwise he was going to get run down by AShe, and that is something you always have to be respectful of in terms of level 1. But with the lane swap and the fact that Heng was not spotted by Breathe as he went towards the bottom side of the map, he is going to get to chance to full clear this entire red quadrant on the bottom side of the map.
Oh, and wait, and now Light actually lost out. Has no cleanse here. They're not going to be able to grab that last bit of damage. You'll be able to walk up, and also you see this by getting damage down onto Moham. There's no flash. They do have the heal here, but this double summoner spell bottom lane is going to be very dangerous, especially with, they know, you see the pinks coming out. Viego is on this side of the map. Heng is not going to be able to help. Even if he recalls right now and runs to this, he's going to be extremely weak as this Nocturne. So OMG's their bot lane has to be incredibly careful as long as they don't want to immediately give over one of those feats of strength.
Which is why you saw Starry and Moham in a 2v1 immediately back up and give respect to Light in that space, in that top river entrance, as Tian now looking for the angle. Even if they don't get a kill, if you force a cleanse, if you force a flash, it is super beneficial. Boom, cleanse gone. Now Starry only has one other summoner spell, and if he ever gets tagged by a BRaum Q or just an auto attack from Heng, he is going to have the flash, or it's going to be an early kill for Light.
Another systemic change, which we'll be able to talk about this game, considering how many teleports we have, is the change to the summoner spell teleport. It's no longer an instantaneous blink. As soon as the channel time of 2.5 seconds is over, your character basically does what is a miniature Akali E and just floats along the rest of the screen. Think of like your Hextech portals that you have. So it's not instantaneous. You have to wait at least maybe up to 8 seconds of a teammate being able to get there, which is not exact. It takes a little bit of setup, and it's definitely something you got to get used to on this new patch. And we'll see how these teams adjust as some different strategies start to appear with the new summoner spell.
Yeah. Man, this is such a rough start for Starry and Moham on the top side of the map. Their jungler was forced to start away from them, full clearing the entire bottom quadrant, so weak side for pretty much the first 4.5 minutes of the game. You're already seeing that Heng is trying to set up some deep vision so that they can see the second rotation of these Raptors here. But the fact that Moham had the burn flash from that level 1 invade can't really support Starry, despite it being a double range lane that should be able to get you a little bit of priority and agency in the lane. Now, no cleanse from Starry. I mean, Light and Heng have full control of this lane.
Yeah, this is kind of similar to what we saw from the OMG games in their group during Demacia Cup. Great ward coming out. They should be able to see these Raptors. And Tian, if he wants to move into mid, is looking potentially at a flash from Linfeng.
Tian can look to close the distance with a flash W, but because of the mist, he can just close the distance with the movement speed, and Linfeng is just going to accept his death. No point in burning the flash, and first blood and the first feat of strength is awarded to Tian and Weibo Gaming.
Great job of getting that. Is able to also steal those raptors, so Tian being able to accelerate himself. When we talk about these two junglers, they're two players that kind of have different styles, but end up kind of having the same overall objective, which is give me resources, and I'm going to be a pretty big driver for our success in the game. Usually Tian is a little bit more focused on his early game, like those skirmishing junglers where he can. And for Heng, so far from what we got from Demacia Cup, and I think this last year in the LPL, he's been someone that is really playing for those strong level 6 junglers. We're able to have big impacts. We saw his Rumble be able to be played. Here's the new teleport, as you can see. You basically turn into a little orb, you kind of teleport on through. But for Heng, I want to see how OMG are going to be able to give him more resources to be able to eventually become a really big carry, because when you are playing this Nocturne, you are obviously playing in tandem with your Orianna, but you need to be strong in your own individual, otherwise this combo really falls apart.
Yeah, other than the paranoia, you don't bring that much utility outside of just being able to turn off the lights and maybe tethering someone for a fear. You are expected to do a little bit of damage in your department, and that does depend entirely on how well you are keeping up with the pace of the overall game. And because he did have to start on the bottom side of the map, he's not necessarily decelerated, but he's definitely not in the most optimal position, with Tian already making moves on the map, getting first blood and creating priority for Xiaohu in this lane. He's going to try to look for something mid lane. As the shockwave connects, Xiaohu is in trouble, but he's going to pop between worlds and maybe look for a trade of 1v1 kills onto Linfeng, but he's just using it to create space, and he dodges away from Heng, and this guy gives time for Tian to now take grubs, knowing that Heng can't do anything. He's not level 6, there's no way to collapse.
Ooh, are they going to continue to push for this? If Tian's able to grab the last grub here, he's able to get level 6.
Oh no.
Oh
He
no.
might
Oh
have to
no.
flash. Heng is going to tag him, and now Heng is in trouble, but the flash from the BRaum tags him with the winner's bite. Concussive blows fully stacked. Xiaohu takes the second kill of the game.
Oh my god. So not only they're not going to finish this, he's actually going to try and steal another Raptor camp away here from the side of Heng. That's a really great start here for Weibo. They've already grabbed themselves the first kill. Now, excuse me, the way that the first 3 epic monsters does happen is even if you kill all 3 grubs, it only counts as a single camp. So you still need to be able to kill a dragon. You probably still need to be able to finish the second camp of grubs, or maybe the herald that spawns at 16. But already on their way towards getting those feats of strength, which will be a really big boost in power for the Weibo squad.
Not even 7.5 minutes. And it's not necessarily a super bloody game. We don't have, like, kill per minute, type levels of volatility, but this is such a commanding lead for Weibo Gaming. A 1,000 gold lead, don't shy at the gold amount itself. While it is small, this is very nice in terms of momentum and how well Weibo Gaming are controlling the map.
One thing I am missing about the in-game HUD now,
what's that?
You can do this when you press tab. You can see about how much or which version of Otacon you're going to be able to get based on how much damage, because it's not just kills, right? Again, it is about how much action is happening on the map, so champion damage helps. We did just see that Hery has been really pushing Breathe under his turret, but that's to be expected with the Gnar versus Ksante matchup. And now playing for this first dragon here, Weibo have a couple of options. Breathe and Hery cannot match, they cannot teleport for this play. They're going to get level 6 onto Heng. Whether or not Weibo really want to kind of accentuate how much damage they're able to do, I don't think they have too many great items, but they have really, really impactful ultimates coming up, especially with the fact that they have Light already level 6 here. They can use the Enchanted Crystal Arrow to start for this dragon early on, but you're going to be playing against Orianna Nocturne coming into this objective. I think you can maybe even try to look towards getting more gold onto your bottom lane, utilizing these 3 grubs you have.
As we see Heng trying to see if he could contest that blue buff, but Tian smites it away. And I imagine that, as you're talking about for OMG, their ability to contest the dragon is not that great. Starry immediately forced to cleanse the arrow, walks away safely, still has a flash to play with, and that's an engagement tool gone from Weibo Gaming. Do they still want to take this chance of starting up the dragon? It might be... Well, we're going to get a hawk shot view that spot out Heng?
Wow. That's insane. I was going to say, even if it does spout out Heng, this is just such a tough spot. Now, that ward immediately does see Tian. It looks like they're going to maybe feign interest towards it, but I just don't think this is the objective for OMG. So now it's going to be the second objective here taken by Weibo. Maybe we see from the side of OMG they try to make a play after this objective is taken, but there's no level 6 here for Moham either.
Smite from Tian, but there's the Paranoia Shockwave combo right onto him, but he flashes towards the wall, and then Heart breaks out to get out alive. Weibo Gaming not in any trouble at all whatsoever.
Weibo just make this look easy now. Every single play of theirs is just happening to work, and it seems like OMG, they don't have the proactivity that's really kind of going in their favor. Heng is just getting spotted out. I think right now, so far in the first 10 minutes, Tian has had a masterclass in the jungle. Despite the lane swaps that were happening, he's been able to focus resources.
Linfeng still has a flash to work with. Xiaohu just chunking him out. Moham goes in for the Pop Blossom. Heng is taken down, but Tian is now going to look for the resets. No flash, no Heartbreaker. It's all on light to slow him down, and there's the first reset, as now he has access to another Heartbreaker if he can get in range, but Moham has already cleared distance. He will get out alive. Can't say the same about Starry.
Tian is having such a great game on this Viego, which to be expected, especially as his second most played all time in his career, has a 73% win rate on this champion, which is absolutely ridiculous out of like almost 60 games. He is such a good player on this Viego, and he is making such good work on this map. He's making sure he's stealing camps away. He's doing well on the objectives. I think this is one of the better games we get from Tian, especially early on, and it feels bad, especially for OMG, because you're sitting there like, okay, cool, look, we have this great combo between our mid-jungle, but the information game coming in from not only Weibo's bottom lane, but from the entire squad has just been really, really exceptional.
Yeah, we see in the replay that it was an engage started by Starry and Moham trying to capitalize on the light, but he did flash out of the Pop Blossom, which gives him the proper spacing to be able to escape and reposition for Tian coming in for the gank. As we're back to live, just under 12 minutes into the game.
Wait, they're
so
gonna get the
far.
feats. He's going to do this camp, and he's just going to get the feats of strength here. So he's going to finish this. Heng's on the opposite side of the map. I'm sorry to cut you off, Mark, but that's such a huge deal, especially with how many people have been saying, hey, look, feats of strength are way too powerful. Tian's already finished a first item from the jungle position at 11 minutes here in the game. So many resources into this jungler. I mean, he's an incredibly strong Viego now.
There it is. 2 feats of strength. Triumphant feats now available for Weibo Gaming once they complete the tier 2 boots. You already see it, the indication of the red framing on Xiaohu's Sorcerer's boots. As, you know, shout outs to the LPL broadcast. They already know, they're on top of it. They're showing you the new icons for all of the Triumphant boots. As Heng wants to challenge Tian in his own red buff. Thankfully, he's got a spell shield to be able to block that enchanted arrow, but no red buff for him, as OMG are just now scrambling for some advantage to claw their way back into this game.
All we've seen from Heng this game so far has just been, do a full clear of my camps, look out on the map, is there anything to do? No? Alright, cool, I'm hitting the recall button, which is really sad, especially for OMG. They wanted to maybe leverage their double range bottom lane, but losing flash level 1 for Moham definitely made that a bit more difficult. And then Light and Heng have done a great job so far being able to hold these two. Now with Tian being so far ahead, like you were saying with the boots of strength, or the feats of strength for the boots, they're really strong. I think the most OP one is the Sork Pen boots. You get flat and percent magic penetration when you upgrade these boots, which is absolutely insane. Now they have 6 grubs. Weibo have complete control of the map, and I mean, the person I most feel bad for is Hery. He's playing on a winning matchup, but you're playing Gnar into Ksante, and the rest of the map is just starting to crumble around you.
Yeah, and for OMG, the pinnacle of this early mid-game strength was supposed to be the Nocturne Orianna combo, as we were, you know, trying to highlight how they were going to be able to combat a little bit of the early momentum that Tian had already leveraged for Weibo Gaming in the first few minutes of the game. The first one doesn't get anything done. They get a flash out of Tian, he escapes, no kills after that, and if there's any experience that we can allude to as, you know, playing Nocturne in our own games, if that first Paranoia doesn't get you anything, then the cooldown of waiting for the second Paranoia feels so painfully long. As now Xiaohu trying to capture Moham in this corridor here. Doesn't get a chance to put the grass right on top of him.
Okay. And one of the things we also talked about during the draft was that we had some worries whether or not this Weibo team was going to have the damage to be able to really deal with OMG. OMG have not shown that they've necessarily have that really strong first punch coming into this game. And Xiaohu's also doing pretty decently for himself. We're going to be coming into the second dragon here with a completed item, a completed Luden's companion here for Xiaohu. He also has the upgraded boots, so he does a hell of a lot of damage. And while he won't have ultimate, he is going to be able to have so much damage. And with Moham also out of the fight, this comes to a point where, are they actually just trying to cancel? They're just canceling his TP now. So he's not going to be here in time.
Well, they're sending the Paranoia mid lane, trying to look for Starry, and, you know, damn through all the efforts, no flash available for Light, just a cleanse, and it's not enough to protect him from the three-man dive that OMG orchestrated in the mid lane. Does give the window for Xiaohu to take out the bot tier 1 on the bottom side of the map. But for OMG, they're playing through mid-wave prio, trying to see if they can wrestle their way back into the river and contest the second dragon.
But can they actually, though? I mean, look, like, Tian's going to be here with his ultimate. You're having Aurora, who also has their ultimate. The Between Worlds is already back up 5 seconds away. You're missing out on Light, but now you can even bring the two top laners to TP. I think we're just going to have to fight for this if you're Weibo.
Yeah, Xiaohu is collapsing, already dashes right onto Starry, but Moham with the pop blast on two people. Heng tries to flash in to connect the shockwave, but he flashes away. It doesn't matter. Xiaohu still falls. All on Starry being able to stand up tall and deliver for OMG. Second dragon of the game goes to them as well.
Hery TP's into that play, but I mean, look, it was all good there for Weibo. They got the kill on this Xiaohu. Xiaohu goes way too early into that fight. No one's there. You're supposed to be able to buy time for someone like Light to get back into position. Tian was nowhere near that fight, so let's take a look at this replay here. I mean, Xiaohu, look at you're in between two players, right? Linfeng's there, Heng is right next to you. I mean, and now we have all of this damage coming in from Starry and the rest of the squad. Great engage coming in from Moham, who has had some criticisms. You know, during his time on DK this last year, it was you can play.
Hopefully for the main broadcast, as boom, you know, ask and you shall receive.
Hey.
Weibo Gaming, you know, second dragon doesn't go their way, but they're back up on the map, up on their feet. The Rift Herald is secured for them, and that'll be another tool that they can use and try and leverage more map control, looking at those outer turrets in both the mid lane and the top lane.
Things like, please, I don't want to have to W out of here. I would like to stay in this brush and make sure that we're able to control this. So, for the time being, what I want to see coming out from OMG is more of the same. It's take control of mid with your double range. They're able to clear the wave very, very quickly compared to AShe BRaum. And then make sure they're getting vision. It doesn't have to be particularly deep, but with some of the new runes that came in, you have extra health on some runes. You have the ability to see more wards and potentially take out more vision. So I would actually like to see OMG push for getting some shallow vision into entrances of the jungle, just so they can spot out where Tian is, and more so see where the camps are and play for those so that you can kind of turbocharge more into this Nocturne. Hery already finishing the experimental Hexblade is something that they can try to look into, but with where Linfeng has been kind of hung out to dry this game in the Orianna. He's getting picked out constantly, and that's something you have to deal with when you're playing against Orianna and AShe.
Yeah, I mean, the Xiaohu Aurora has been such a nuisance for Linfeng to be able to deal with, and even when they called for jungle assistance early on in the game, you saw that Xiaohu, very slippery on the champion, hard to pin down, especially when you don't have access to Shockwave for the pick. So, you know, Linfeng just trying to do the best that he can. They have attempted to pull off the Paranoia Shockwave, you know. It has not necessarily resulted in a kill yet for this game, but we can at least give credit over to OMG that they are executing on it when they possibly can. But as you have already alluded to, you know, Linfeng definitely not in a huge carry position this game. He's just kind of, you know, filling a role for the rest of the team. So far, it has been Starry and Moham that have at least found the bright spots, as this arrow...
Whoa! Do we want to talk about that?
You know what? We can just move right along. Baron is not spawning for another 8 or 7 minutes, I should say. Now that we're getting close to 18, but OMG still got some time to play before the next main objective, which is that Otacon in 2 minutes.
All right, look, the thing that Bree's about to hit, that's a Blood Rose. That's an additional amount of XP and a little bit of adaptive force right there. One of the new additions with this patch. And while we were in that replay, we didn't get to see too much of it, but Tian did actually take the Herald as well. So they have the Rift Herald, they have 6 grubs. I do want to see this team in about a minute's time. We have the Otacon spawning in about 2. Look to play through mid, get this mid-tier 1 already down for you, and then you can move on over to this objective. Take a look at the items right now. Everybody's about one, maybe 1.5 items, depending on where you are on the map. And for Weibo, they have those increased boots upgrades, at least the minor feats. Don't think they're going to be seeing too many upgrades as they don't have their second item quite yet. But big summoner spells, no flash here for Xiaohu, and Starry's not going to have his flash ready for this Otacon, which can be very dangerous to deal with.
Gotta keep an eye on where this arrow is flying. If he can sidestep it, then he's not forced to use the cleanse. Otherwise, once that cleanse is gone, he doesn't really have any tools to protect him. And with Moham going on this Neeko and going for the Proto Belt first finish, there's not going to be a Mikhails to give him that extra cleanse ability to deal with any incoming CC. As the Rift Herald charges into the mid-tier 1, they take it out. There won't be a subsequent charge going on for them. They might try to look for the collapse in the Linfeng, but the arrow sails wide.
If Linfeng had stayed a little bit longer, maybe about a second or 2, we would have seen all of Weibo move on over to try to get those kills. Not going to be the case. It's going to be them now missing an AShe ultimate 30 seconds before the Otacon spawns. I want to see what kind of Otacon it is, because this was a game that didn't have too much kills, but I imagine with the double ranged and again Hery spawning, or Hery playing this Gnar versus Ksante, there was a lot of damage. I wonder if this is going to be the Voracious one. This might be one of our first Voracious we get to see throughout the season.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I had a game where there's like 12 kills apiece on both teams, and we still got a Voracious Otacon. So my money's...
Oh, it is Voracious. Hey!
Yep. So, by the way,
okay.
Voracious Otacon is a red hue. The Ruinous is more of a like dark gray hue.
Yep.
So
what Voracious gives for the team that ends up killing the Voracious Otacon, it's going to be a permanent 40 gold increase to every takedown on the champion. So just every takedown, just add another 40 gold for the rest of the game, and you get that one-time stasis GA. So if you do die, you're going to go into stasis, you're going to get recalled back to base, and the enemy opponent is going to get 100 gold and about 1 blood petal. So they're going to be able to get a little bit of experience and a little bit of adaptive force, but really kind of nullifying that. Now with the summoner spells back up, if they're able to grab this Otacon, any summoner spell, specifically any flash that wasn't used in that last fight, I just expect for the winning team to immediately be looking for another engage onto that player. Now Xiaohu walks forward, has to use the flash immediately coming into this fight.
Big from Starry. Good Chain of Corruptions look. It forces the Summoner Spell out of Xiaohu, but now Weibo Gaming trying to press forward for control in the river. Breathe, the main person taking up space for the side of Weibo Gaming as the rest of OMG trying to wait in the brush, but the arrow connects right on top.
There's Moham
with the counter engage. It stops them in their tracks. There goes Heng into the backline, trying to link his claws right down on Light, but Light is able to stand tall and deliver with the arrows, and the rest of the engage from OMG falls to its ground, and Weibo Gaming able to take out 3. They only lose Heng in the fight, but this is 2 objectives surely going over to Weibo.
Didn't even matter that Xiaohu got caught early. They weren't able to get that much damage. Heng and Linfeng did not find the engage onto Light, and that means it's going to be the Dragon here for Weibo. Now we can take a look at this replay. So what exactly happened? So Hery doesn't tank it up. Hery's not even Mega Gnar yet, and this is a great job from Breathe to immediately stop the knockup, but yeah, the damage just isn't quite there, and look at where the rest of the members of OMG are. It's going to be both Xiaohu and Breathe applying DPS onto Linfeng and Starry. It was a great engage, I think, from the rest of the team, but the damage dealers just weren't there, and Hery didn't have Mega Gnar quite ready to go, so they had to make a snap engage off of Light's ultimate, and that's going to turn into a pretty big win here for Weibo. Not starting up the Otacon, instead grabbing the second dragon. They're going to continue to play the rest of the map. Typically, I've been seeing a lot of focus towards this Otacon, especially because it is the new kind of the big new hotness on the Rift, but they just want to really power farm a lot of gold onto players like Xiaohu and Tian by going for this tier 1, utilizing those 6 scrubs.
And honestly, Dimitri, I think this just goes to show that Weibo Gaming have put in their fair share of trying to take down the Otacon in their scrim games, because this objective is deceptively hard and long to take down. So the fact that they actually went for the dragon first, they decided, hey, we don't actually have enough time to take this objective off the map. Let's just reset. There's no way that OMG, down the amount of gold and items that they are compared to us, are going to try and start it while we're still on the map and strong. They've taken full control of that top side, and now they're resetting their vision line back towards the bottom side, where it is so much easier to take that objective.
I mean, Linfeng doesn't have flash. Heng doesn't have flash either. It's so hard to find and engage. And one of the feats of strength that we were talking about, the magic penetration boots you're able to grab for yourself for Xiaohu, he now has like 18 flat magic pen and 10% magic penetration. This is absolutely insane. Xiaohu does a lot of damage, especially with the Storm Surge. It seems like OMG, they're going to try and fight after the Otacon, but they're going to already have the GA here for the side of Weibo.
Oh, they got a ward down, but Tian secures it. Heng goes into the backline, tries to look for Tian, but the GA pops from the Otacon objective. Moham
Can they
falls
win
to
this?
Xiaohu with the Between Worlds. OMG are still fishing. Maybe they can get Hery into the backline. Great use of the weirding to slow them down. Hery doesn't get a chance to lock down any further players as Breathe brings him in with the all-out, but Hery's in trouble as Light is pouring arrows right into the other backline, and Breathe is still alive, and he's going to force the issue. They've got the temporary GAs. It allows them to continue fighting, and Xiaohu's back on the map thanks to the teleport. He rejoins the fight. Tian is there as well. The Heartbreaker splits up Linfeng and Hery, as now Hery has nowhere else to go. Tian picks it up, and Dimitri, I think this is pretty much game for Weibo Gaming. Otacon secured, 6 grubs secured. Weibo Gaming 4,000 gold ahead. OMG, they are cooked.
That's it. I mean, they got the GA, and I was like, okay, that's great. You're able to grab the GA for yourselves. You know, you're having a numbers advantage, but I mean, the gold doesn't say all that much. It's about 5,000. It's going to be a lot more with all these turrets that are going to start to fall, but the feats of strength definitely start to add on. The experience differentials are going to continue to climb as we look at some of these blood roses. Doesn't seem like too many have been picked up, at least not by the side of Weibo. They only have 15, which, give or take, it does change how much experience it gives based on who picked it up. It's increased if you have a kind of bad KDA or not, but yeah, that was such a great fight coming in from Weibo, especially the fact that they're able to GA, teleport back into the play at the back end of it, and only just barely able to get as much pressure out of it. We get to see the replay here. I mean, they're just too late. So the GA's proc now. Heng's here, but when you kill these players when they have this Otacon GA, it's only 100 gold. So you're not even getting all that much in terms of resources, and they didn't spend too many in terms of their summoner spells either, so this is just a really good answer coming in from Weibo, and OMG just being late to the punch yet again.
And what a beautiful just positioning from Light and Breathe, playing around that Tribush choke point, and it's
Don't
so
look
hard
at Tian,
for...
please.
I'm not looking. Hey, you know what? I'm not looking. It's okay. I'm going to continue talking about the 2v4 essentially that Breathe and Light pulled off. Just being able to play that choke point, the fact that they cannot actually push through the volley of arrows since their health bars was so low. Hery thinking that this is, you know, a good push that they can make for it, but, you know, Weibo Gaming being able to just overcome it all. And a Grave Siege push on the top side nets them the first inhibitor of the game. Hery does get a chance to push on the bottom side and take this tier 2, but it only feels like a consolation prize in the back half.
It's going to be a little bit of gold. Maybe we can finish a third item on, you know, maybe someone like Linfeng coming into this next fight. This is a pretty tough game to watch here now if you are an OMG fan. For Weibo, however, they're making moves. They get the flash out from Moham again. So no flash Neeko ult. We haven't seen that synergy really between him and Heng. While on the opposite side, Weibo, I think that the carries have really kind of stepped it up, especially for someone like Tian and Light. Light is someone who has, again, been super consistent for many, many years, and with a new jungler in Tian, it seems like it's kind of all coming together at the right moments. It is very early on. Again, this is our first game of the LPL season, but we got to see this Weibo roster play in the Demacia Cup, and they didn't quite make it to finals. They got all the way to semifinals. They were slotted in immediately, so they're always going to make top 8 because of the way that the bracket kind of shook out. But, oh, Starry's just dead. Okay.
Yep. As you called it out, Between Worlds locks him down, and Heng absorbed the arrow with the spell shield. But that is a marksman gone from the side of OMG, making an effective 5v4 for Weibo Gaming. They're making this siege happen in the mid lane and constantly chunking out members that they can get their eyes on, as Heng has complete freedom to just start walking around the OMG jungle by himself, tanking enough on this BRaum, and, you know, and going back to the conversation about, you know, Light just being this super consistent AD carry that hasn't really gotten the shine, this is not only a new jungler, as you already pointed out with Tian, but it's also a new support. And Heng is someone that we saw from the LNG days, you know, being remarkably aggressive, always having a very, you know, forward mindset of trying to initiate and look for plays. You know, BRaum isn't necessarily a support champion that stands out in that play style, but you're already seeing the pieces come together between him, Light, and Tian.
It's great. It's great to see this Weibo roster, especially as a huge Light fan. Maybe we can kind of show the graphic later on in the show, but I love Light. He's been criminally underrated. Kelsey Moser, you can't say anything in response because you're not on the show, so I get to control the narrative. Light's been great. He's been shown up at some international events, but ever since he was originally on those LNG days, he's been someone that has really started to climb the ranks of really top-level AD carries here in the region. So excited to what he can do with another year on Weibo, especially for, remember, we are keeping a majority of the pieces, Breathe, Xiaohu, and Light, just changing out the jungle and support. And we'll see what this roster is able to do as the year goes on. It's a team that we are looking to be a top 3, top 4 contender.
And right now, Weibo Gaming are trying to put the finishing touches on this game. We've reached past the 25-minute mark, which is when Baron now spawns, as we have mentioned during the pre-draft of this game. Doesn't look like Weibo Gaming are actually committing to the Baron. They're just trying to look for a pick. Moham, good night. Heng does look for Light in the background, and he finds a trade kill back. But Hery could be next, as Breathe now tries to jump forward, trying to create space. But the only carry left is Tian and Xiaohu, and Tian is low. They can play for Viego resets, but it's going to have to be on Breathe and Heng to make that space happen. And with Xiaohu already limited on the burst damage with no ulti available, this is OMG's map to play for right now.
All right, that looked pretty sus there for a second, but OMG are able to fight back. This is some of the compositional strengths that we highlighted during the draft, but obviously the game has not really gone their way. And if Hery was able to get onto that objective, or maybe into that fight a little bit sooner, maybe have a bit of a better time as this Gnar, I think there's an angle there for OMG to really start to take over in that fight. But Weibo, they're able to kind of keep him out from the fight. I want to see exactly what was happening here. So this starts with just an AShe ultimate. It segments off Moham for the rest of the team. Okay, so Hery just wasn't in the area. He has to wait for the TP to get all the way over there. Then he has to build his Mega Gnar, so he's just never in a spot. I'm going to say, Mark, despite it looking good, there is a lot of big flashes gone now. Like, Starry flashed over the wall, over the Raptor pit, and they didn't get much after that. So now you're going to be playing as a Varus with no flash versus Xiaohu, Light. This is just easy pickings now going forward.
I will say, even though I did say that it was cooked for OMG, I'll play devil's advocate right now. There's no flash from Light. There's no flash from Heng. There's no flash from Xiaohu. So a lot of these carries that are pretty squishy are now open for someone like Heng's Nocturne to actually just jump on. And we already saw that even though everyone from Weibo Gaming dogpiled on the Moham, Light was left all alone in the darkness and couldn't fend for himself against the Nocturne. So I still think Weibo Gaming should win the game from this point forward. However, there is a way, but it's going to have to take a lot from OMG to dig deep down and lock the frick in Dimitri if that were to happen.
Guys, my co-caster is literally trying to get brownie points from the Weibo social media guy. I can't, bro. What am I supposed to do here? Guys, it should be Weibo's win. I mean, it should be. Like OMG don't even have a Twitter account, okay? So we can't even farm them for impressions. Oh, and Arrow. I gotta make sure. Yo, check in on Choco. Maybe he got hit by that. We've got dragons spawning, or ready. Should be up. Although the indicator on the map says it should be up in 45, the indicator in the top right tells me their HUD might be broke. So Dragon being a thing that can turn into a soul here for Weibo if they take this one. They're missing the AShe ultimate, but you just have to go here if you're OMG. There's no point. We're not going to be able to get level 16 on Heng, but we do have level 16 on Linfeng. Dragon's already basically done now. They can't get in range.
Yeah, and it's in fog. Xiaohu just pops the ulti just to make sure that OMG cannot get through that choke point. Effective tool to deny any contest, and that is Mountain Soul secure for Weibo Gaming. This should be their fight to win. Hery is split off completely from the rest of the team. He's about to go Mega. There is complete darkness. The paranoid shockwave misses as Light is able to distance himself away. Big Gnar ultimate from Hery, but it's not doing much as it's trying to create an escape. A possibility for OMG, but Starry might be run down here. Still no flash. The winner's bite connects, and here comes Xiaohu. Looks for the weirding. Good night, Starry. Talk about some damage from that Stormbringer. My goodness. Weibo Gaming, 33 minutes in, 13 kills and 5. I mean, this Baron should be theirs for the taking. Heng still up on the table, but no paranoia, no flash. I don't think he's going to get into this pit.
It's so difficult to fight. They have a Mountain Soul now. You even have Bloodthirster coming in here for Light. If the two tanks here for Weibo decide to pick up their boot enchantments, they're going to get max HP shields based on the boots they got. I just think there's too much damage or too much tankiness coming in from Weibo, and we get to see here Storm Surge plus Ludens plus the feats of strength upgraded boots for the Aurora. There's just nothing you can really do. This the champion's good, but the items are much better. The items are absolutely disgusting here now. So Barrett here for Weibo. There's going to be them putting the finishing touches. They've got 6 grubs as well, so with that Baron buff, I just expect for them to just run down any lane they want and try to end this game. This game has gone on a bit longer than I would have actually preferred, just for the matter of, like, OMG. They should have lost this game, but they have so many robust tools in their kit that allow them to kind of do kind of fights like we've seen. But
sure. And then credit to them where it counted. There was a couple times when Weibo Gaming played the engage a little too fast, right? We talk about that second dragon fight where, hang on.
Here we go.
Conversation is now as Light forced to pop the stasis, tries to flash backwards. Moham follows up, closing the distance with that protobelt, and Heng tries to flash on top just to stay in range. But there's too many people protecting Light. As he's going to send an arrow downtown. That might that arrow's going to hit your fridge, Dimitri. Just watch out. Just stand to the side. Shockwave. It doesn't matter to breathe as he is unmovable in that W, and Hery tries to throw them all into their Nexus, but there's nothing else to be done for the side of OMG. Hery, the last man standing, is not going to be able to withstand this siege coming in from Weibo Gaming, and this is game 1 going over to them.
Oh my god, Weibo is literally diving them with Nexus turrets not even available to be hit. All the inhibitors were still up while Weibo are diving them. That's going to be game 1 taken here by Weibo. Not to be unexpected, but for OMG, I think it's back to the drawing board here in this best of 5. And look, we're in a full Fearless. We're going to get more champions taken out from this series as we go further into it. But yeah, that's good. That's correct. I do, in fact, love Light. He deserves MVP for this game. He won the level 1. I'm trying to line up with the picture. All right, it's gone. But he got the level 1 flash out from Moham. He did a fantastic job this game. If it's not going to be him, then I really do expect that some of the people on the Chinese broadcast are going to be looking towards Tian or Xiaohu.
Yeah.
Xiaohu had too many really explosive moments, but I think overall his game was tame in consideration.
Yeah, the early game orchestrated by Tian, pretty much resulted in full weak side from Moham and Starry being completely disconnected from Heng for the first 4.5 minutes of the game. And even though that we talked so much about, oh, this is a Neeko Varus double range bot lane. They should have control. They should have agency in this lane. The level 1 invade screws over Moham with his flash, and then the gank early on takes a cleanse out. And suddenly your priority and your ability to play up in that lane no longer exists. So, and then just the rest of the snowball started happening for Tian.
Yeah, and so for everybody at home, we do have the full Fearless here. As you can take a look at the, I wonder what the Chinese broadcasts are going to try and break down here on their telestrator. Bring it home. Bring it home. I was going to say, those 10 champions that we just saw being played are no longer going to be available.
Yep.
I wonder what the priority is going to be. OMG will have side select. I expect to see them on blue side. But Rumble being a ban from Weibo, I think is really interesting. And if the game keeps going in the way that we expect, where Weibo, I'll be straight up, I do have Weibo taking a 3-0 this time. And if that's going to be the case, Weibo is always going to end up on red side, which means Rumble is going to continue to stay banned. So it's going to be a champion that we're not really going to be able to see from them. And then maybe Skarner gets through. You also have to think of like Victor, a champion that really fell off after the group stage, because people realized that while Victor does have a very busted kit, he's still Victor, unfortunately.
He still takes a while to crank up to that late game power. It is what it is, and especially where the fact that we are in such a snowballing meta, you know, it doesn't really speak to how volatile this new season does feel like with the way that this first game played. It was fairly tame in the first, 10 minutes of the game. I think we only had four or five-ish kills total by that mark. I think it was like around 3-1 during that time. I was expecting people to be throwing hands. I thought we were going to get like, 5 kills apiece by 10 minutes into the game, like 1 kill per minute. But, for the most part, once Weibo Gaming had control, OMG played it fairly standard, really trying to wait on their ult spikes and trying to, play the objectives fairly calculated. Unfortunately, it just didn't go their way.
All right, maybe Xiaohu does deserve MVP. Those numbers are insane. He had like 45% of his team's damage. He has like the most damage by far in the game by like a pretty large margin. Him and Tian were putting in work this game. All right, look, I'm going to be the first one to always defend Xiaohu just because of his legacy as a top-level mid laner, one of the best players in general to ever play League of Legends, especially for the LPL. But the last couple of years have not been kind to him. He's had a bit of a softer splits coming in. He's always been known as kind of a spring tiger, as having to kind of carry a lot of those older RNG rosters, thanks to Uzi taking up until Lunar New Year off. But he's, at least in this game, and so far in this Weibo team, I think he's had a little bit of a better time. I want to see what that looks like with an entire split behind him, however.
Yeah, just rolling through the montage of that first game. Other than that second Dragon fight, it really was just Weibo Gaming all day, every day. Just the way that they were able to navigate through the darkness of the paranoia that OMG brought with that Nocturne pick. I mean, it just seemed like it didn't even affect them at all. They were not deterred that much whatsoever. And you get to see, once again, the effects of the GA, thanks to killing the voracious Otacon, come into effect.
I'll just also say that I think OMG played this game not particularly well, if I'm being nice. They were never really on the same page. When we saw them actually start engages, it felt a lot of the time that either they weren't in sync or they were just not necessarily it wasn't on their terms. There were a couple of engages that we got to saw during that fight where it was, hey, there's suddenly this AShe ultimate's coming at me. Moham, send your ultimate, then we'll try to find the re-engage on the light, when we didn't get to see Hery in a great position. Like, this is one of them. Moham's ulting, no one's really in position. Now is when we get Heng to kind of get into this backline. This is one of the better fights here for OMG, but imagine all of them had been coordinated. You have the long range of Varus, you have Orianna with that amount of damage, you have the Hery who on this Gnar should be able to come over top and get big knockups. That just wasn't the case here for OMG, so regardless of what composition they play in the next game, the question of their synergy is really going to have to come to play once we get further in the series.
Yeah. I mean, we have to remind ourselves that, this roster from OMG, fairly developmental. Obviously, Hery and Heng coming from other teams in the LPL to this roster, within the last 6 months. But for, Linfeng and Starry, these guys were brought up in the OMG secondary team. And now this is their chance to, try and start building their professional career, at least tier 1 wise, for the LPL. And, when we think back to, for anyone that was watching the LPL in the summer, Linfeng did get a chance to, substitute in for some games while Angel was the main player for OMG during the time being. you know, unfortunately for Linfeng, he had to go up against some of the toughest mid laners in the LPL with, I think there's a series against LNG, for example, having to play against Scout. I mean, that is a tough order to stand up to. And to his credit, they got one game off the Hui against Scout's Azir, you know, but, you know, there's going to be a lot more reps in store for Linfeng that he's going to have to really muscle through over this split.
That'll be really interesting. We get to see Xiaohu as the MVP, rightfully so. You know, I'll take back my discrediting. 47% of his team's damage.
Sheesh.
Dude, putting up numbers on the board. That's what I want to see from one of the most legendary players to ever touch League of Legends as a whole. Aurora champion looking quite balanced, but also did get the upgraded boots pretty early on. I think mages kind of got some bite back in the game. Ooh, the MVP
what is
highlights.
This?
We even get the Aurora skin as well. I might be a little distracted.
Can we clip this?
Well, the Aurora highlight is gone now, so I blacked out for a second.
The important part of the highlight is gone, unfortunately, for Dimitri's eyes, is basically what we're getting at. But yeah, that's cool. No, you were mentioning it. The fact that your upgraded boots gives you both an additional flat M pen as well as percentage penetration. My goodness, like your burst capabilities on any squishy target that has no magic resist whatsoever. I mean, good luck surviving it. You see pairing with items like the Storm Surge, which has a ton of M pen built into the build path, and man, I mean, if you could have like the absolute, you know, magic pen dream of having like Storm Surge, Shadow Flame, fully upgraded boots as well, I mean, you're essentially doing true damage to any squishy that has no MR into their kit.
We needed it. I say we, as someone who's a AD carry player, and I like to play mages. Mages are notoriously, like, for such a long time, we just never had magic penetration. Lost Chapter was one of the worst items in the game, thanks to Noon Quiver. That got nerfed. We had 1100 Lost Chapter. I was so excited. Then it got nerfed to 1200. I was kind of sad, but it was fine. Like, we needed it. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of... I'm glad mages are feeling more and more empowered, especially with not only the game kind of being tweaked, but also things like teleport and the like being kind of tapered down a little bit in terms of their power.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had that much M-Pen in the game since, like, the early days of when Haunting Guys used to give M-Pen. And, you know, you would get, like, up to, like, you know, 30 M-Pen super early into the game for the price of, like, what, 2,800 gold, which, you know, kind of the comparable price to a full legendary item. But before we close it out and start getting ready for the second game, I just want you all to know, just maybe aware this is an entirely fan